Good day to all. Good day to all. Sorry I had to drop the last startup because my audio wasn't running, but at least I'm becoming familiar enough with uh, what I'm doing now to recognize that before I do the entire video. It's been exhausting. So, anyway, good day to all. Good day to all. This is Nurturing of Our Humanity. Um, I'm signing in to you guys or checking in this Wednesday with a topic that comes really fresh from experience, an experience I had this weekend. I was at a wonderful gathering, and but anyway, I want to share something really introspective with you guys. Okay, so let me start with the thumbnail and the title of this video. You're going to hear this quote 2 times through this video. I'm going to share this with you because this is wisdom from above from my grandfather. One who knows and can't be told is a fool. Avoid him. But one who does not know and knows he does not know, but can be told is a wise man. Follow him. I dropped this quote twice on Saturday that just passed. Both times was for understanding and humility in the room, um, to put the whole room in place, in check. Um, and it's interesting because one of the first things I'm going to touch on in this video or in this live stream is fathering, and that's really where the conversation went and started to get heavy. And I ran this conversation. A Cliff Notes type of version of it, a shortened, abbreviated bullet point, I guess, type of version of what I'm going to express here in this video by a couple of the gentlemen that are part of my Mastermind Alliance. And it was interesting, the feedback I received from that. And one of my buddies was like, "Man, where is this dude? Let's holler at him." He was really hyped up and in his feelings about it. But at the same time, he really never let me complete a thought. He was so eager to jump in. So, I'm happy to be here where I really don't have to debate. I can just speak, and that's what I'm here to do, and hopefully bring some uh, open-minded understanding and knowledge to something, because that's what I'm here to do. I do not stand on a pedestal of expertise. Um, I am about common sense science and keeping things simple, because uh, once you've shown that you understand the technicalities of something or the technical detail aspects of something, and then you can break that down into a simpler context where you can explain it to many more. To me, that is the shining feature of genius, and I would love to be put into that category. So let's get this started. I'm going to touch a couple of angles here, but to get going, first let me start by humbling myself. I truly am leaving so much of this content and putting a YouTube page together and leaving everything on it public, because I hope to, for this page, this understanding, this time I'm living in, 2024, I hope for these things to be able to continue to sprinkle wisdom and my essence, even once I'm gone. I'm not here to be negative or down about it, but we are going to expire. And we are one of the first generations to, and you'll hear that a lot, generations to really be able to leave our true essence, our voice, our thoughts, our appearance, our demeanor, our gestures. We're able to leave that behind for people who possibly, most likely, would have never gotten a chance to meet us, to experience us if they have the time to sit down and do that. So, first, let me start by being humble myself and just saying I have so many places that I fall short as a father, or I have higher expectations of myself, and I would believe my girls possibly would also. I hope to make them proud. I think I'm going to have a great resurgence towards the end of things, but I've been such a rebel in doing things my way and kind of believing in this time that we're coming into now. Um, that I believe I've left a lot of people in some of those moments short, and my children being a part of that. Okay, so the only way I can make this right is by proving that I needed that time to cocoon and to realize myself and generate my greatness. Um, because the people who I have looked to for support and understanding, the people who topic wise I would have thought would have been my team, my my family, don't understand me, don't seem to understand me, maybe don't even want to understand me. And I've had to come to those conclusions and deal with that. But this is not woe is me. I'm just saying that when you're truly doing something groundbreaking, you're not going to find people who see what you see. It's going to be a lonely road. And I literally understand why people don't get me and haven't understood me, because everything I'm talking about is so proactive and future forward that those who have all their essence and energy in the past and what they thought was going to happen with with the knowledge they had from the past, and now we're in the hugest time of change, that I understand why that didn't fit. But I want to start by saying on fathering that there's a lot to be gained. There's a lot more to grow and to learn. And this conversation that I had with this young man, I'm going to give him a shout out, but his nickname, Za. Okay. He'll know who he is, but I also want to be able to keep it where I'm not putting nobody on blast. Okay. And I appreciate this young man, and I experienced growth through him. He grew me. And I grew because I was able to be quiet and hear things I didn't agree with, and still be constructive and not be attacking with my responses. To set the stage for you, it was multiple men in the room, um, a couple of another gentleman in my age bracket, which was in 50, and there was a couple of young men in their 20s, different spaces in the 20s, early 20s, mid, late 20s, and Za was late 20s. Okay. So by definition, I believe he would be he would be a millennial. That would be his generation. My generation is Generation X, apparently. I mean, these are just topics, but just to bring some clarity to it. And um, he was expressing to me, expressing to the room, and he was really being attacked, because at first it was kind of more political. But when I saw his wisdom and introspection and the time he took to think about it, I didn't know where he got his understanding from, but it encouraged me to want to curve the conversation into more topics. So we got out of um, political stuff, which he was very fact driven on, but he had the room really attacking him. And we moved the subject to fathers and fatherhood. And he was expressing his disappointment with his father, and that his father, I believe he's 65, so he would have been the generation before me. He would have been a baby boomer. Um, but he was just expressing to me um, great disdain and disgust with what his father had done or hadn't done, and hadn't been a part of his life. And uh, and And through the course of our conversation building, the 50-year-old gentleman left and his wife sat in his place basically, and she was sitting there with us. And she just kind of walked in hearing some of his comments and just like jumped on him on some stuff. And she wasn't completely off, but she was talking about the crack era and the stuff that we went through and lived through or had to overcome, and her parents being on substances and the things that incurred in parenting and community and a lot of stuff. And I'm just sitting there absorbing this, trying to figure out how do I have a breakthrough or make a difference that counts here. It was an amazing opportunity I felt to speak and put some essence into the room. I want to give one more shout out because um, my nephew Jojo um, is kind of my go-to to understand the generation below me or behind me. Let me say it that way. Um, he's early 30s and he can give me a perspective that I couldn't have because there's no way you can experience a place in time at an age that you are not, or a generation or a viewpoint that you are not. So at that point, we need to open up and be able to absorb somebody else's um, experience in that area. So as she was telling him about her parents and being a product of two parents that were on crack cocaine and stuff like that, and I'm listening to Zah, this young man, speaking with extreme confidence, like he understood exactly what he would have done when he was there, and this wouldn't have happened to him. And the disappointment, I'm listening, I'm not attacking, I'm listening. And I'm trying to figure out how do I find the proper situation or words to humble this man just to the point where he can open up and we can actually have a conversation heart to heart. Because in our political conversation, I was challenging him to think outside of the box. He was telling me so well the parameters of the box and what happens and what this means and, you name it. And I was just trying to tell him, you can't, with your wisdom now and the powers that are at your fingertips, you can't see a better way that things could be done. Like we have to. I was trying to challenge him in that way. And when this conversation switched to something as personal and intimate as our parents and his disdain for his father's actions in those times and what he could have done and how he could have been more responsible and made a better difference in his life, which, of course, as kids, we know that that's not on us. But he was passing so much judgment. I was really trying to figure out how to balance this table and make it where people would open up and listen. And I was able to do that. And I'm looking forward to getting to that part of the story. Um, but to hear him speak with that level of confidence, what was interesting was he said that, and um, he really, I'm gonna say, aggravated the spirits of the woman in the room. And I kind of sidebarred with her while he was actually kind of defending himself with another one of the gentlemen in his same bracket. Like, how could you say that? You understand this and that and do. But he was like, wow, I lived there. I was a kid in that era and such forth. So while he was having that, I sidebar with the young lady, and I said to her that think about our generation. And this is me and her. We're both in our 50s. And I said, think about how we've never touched slavery before. I mean, we've never been cotton picking, nothing. You know what I'm saying? And how many people of our generation have had the conversation that if I was a slave, or if I was in that time, I wouldn't have been no slave. I would have. So once again, that was us talking out of our place and acting like we knew what we would have did in a different situation in a different time. So after I spoke that to her, she found a aha moment and had some peace to actually settle down and now listen. So that was actually the first key to this conversation, because she was really attacking and he was really attacking and defending. Also, he was very, let me say, he's a very respectful young man. Sirs, ma'ams, a gentleman, but he's strongly opinionated. And you, I feel like you can't tell somebody how to think about their childhood or their parents or their experience, because a person's opinion is not a place where you really can argue with them. You would hope that it's a place where they can be opened up, but it's not a place where you can argue with somebody when they're in the base of their opinion. So the conversation comes back around me. Now it's me and Zah talking. And now the young lady to my right has found peace. That conversation we had, the quick point of that about slavery and us not knowing what we were talking about, gave her a little more understanding to where she was able to now just go, and absorb now. So I think once I got that done, then me and Zah were actually able to dig a couple of layers deep. And I was able to share something with him that was really beautiful and moving. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys also. And because this only happened like 4 days ago, it's pretty clear, 4 or 5 days ago, it's very clear to me right now. So I just decided I'm just going to do my live on this topic and not push this back. I wanted to speak on this while it was fresh, because one thing I've realized is through the last few days, this conversation has been in my mind and on my heart. And that's what I'm here to do, is to speak to whatever's the highest ranking thing in my head, my mind, and my heart at that time. So this is where I ended up taking the conversation. In fact, let me make sure I stay on point with my bullet points. Um, so um, what I was trying to, what I expressed to him in so many words to begin with, was I used technology as my first angle. And the first angle of that was to explain to him that 30 years ago, I'm speaking in the 90s, that all the information, literally all information, high end information, was held in universities and libraries. It was not available at the fingertip. It was not on a phone. There was no internet that I remember. Now, I had to go do some research, and I realized that the birth date of the internet, as we kind of know it today, was January 1st, 1983. I want to make sure I leave some gems in here also. And the first day it was actually open to public consumption was April 30th, 1993. My high school year is 92, my senior year. So we're talking about, I literally made it to 20 years old before it was almost even released, in a sense, or became up. And then you got to understand, even after that date, there was so many people who weren't attached to this new thing. They were still in their old ways. So it probably took another 10 years before it kind of became a mainstream stay, which would almost push it to 20 years, which would be almost 2004. Now, Interestingly, also around 2004 is when the smartphone kind of started becoming a thing from what I read vaguely in research I just did before this live. So I'm giving you a 20-year bounce there from 83 to 2004, from like when it was kind of inception of it to literally when it became like pocket ready almost. Okay. And I was just trying to explain to him that he, at 27 years old, he's literally experienced 10 years of kind of big dog stuff, like grown up talking, cursing, kind of becoming who you want to be, not being under the tutelage in a sense of your parents. I mean, some people, you can move that needle around, but I'm just trying to put him in the place of timing of the way information is. And some of the example is I was explaining to him that 30 years ago, it felt impossible to be able to speak to the nation, to speak to the whole country. Right now, this video right here could be shared. It could go viral. It could make it to all corners of this globe, all the corners of the globe. It could make it to it. And not only could it make it there, it could make it there and potentially, possibly be translated into multiple languages so it can be absorbed there also. That's a huge leap and a huge change in things. And I wanted to make sure that I explain to him. And this is not to make an excuse for being a crackhead or selling it or, being detrimental to the community, because I'm anti all that stuff. I mean, I never sold crack. I've never used crack or cocaine, powder, any of that stuff. I'm an anomaly like that. Okay. Maybe a square. I also don't have no piercings or no tattoos. Okay. Literally how my mom spit me out, you know? But I wanted to use that as an example to explain to him that my his expectations of our generation, and then he was speaking on black men across the board. And I just told him, you can't fix black men across the board by working it generationally, like, oh, your generation, and then maybe the ones behind you are going to be something, but the ones before you were this, that, and whatever, and pass judgment like that. I was trying to let him know I'm with him, that, and I also apologized, and I did it from a place of myself, but I just apologized to him for where my generation left his generation uninspired or whatever we did or abandoned or however he felt. I definitely wanted to acknowledge his feelings in this and let him know how much I appreciated him really opening up and us having this conversation. So as as we as we as I was trying to explain to him some of the challenges that his father would have been up against, which is even years before me, like he's 15 years older than me, roughly. So, but I don't, I'm just about accountability. I don't think that, uh, I don't expect people who don't have the vision of me with the tools that I have to being able to do or see or think something that I am doing now. And I didn't want him to do the same thing with the generations before him, to just assume that things were a certain way, because they were not. There were so many thousands of infinite situations that were different just because of the time we were in, the information that was released, the availability to information. And more than that, being able to express yourself and have a king's mentality and then share it amongst people who aren't just your neighbors and people you went to school with and things like that, the people you're like connected with, by proximity. Um, that was absorbed pretty well. Um, but when we really got to it was when I had to speak to the beauty. And this is where the conversation really got deep. And this is where I received a compliment that I received a compliment that's of the highest that I've ever received. For somebody to put your message or the essence of what you have said or done in the category of godly, that it touched and moved that way. And I just want to say, before I got to that, literally the first thing I was able to say that turned the conversation from kind of like back and forth to like, okay, let's see what we're talking about here, was my grandfather's great quote, which I learned over years, asking him over and over to say it to me because it sounds so smooth when I heard him say it. And years after his passing, now I feel like the bearer of this. Excuse me. One who knows and can't be told is a fool. Avoid him. But one who does not know and knows he does not know but can be told is a wise man. Follow him. Thank you, grandfather, Mr. L.D. Ross. And so let me tell you how I brought this conversation around. I explained to this young man that in every man's ejaculation is hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of lives, that each one has the potential to become a brain and a spinal cord that grows inside a woman's egg and becomes a life. There are a lot of challenges, infinite challenges, that could stop one from becoming a human being. But we all have that ability, or no, we are all winners because we've all won the race. We all made it to that egg. So even the people who you see out here in society who are not winning at all and are doing all the wrong things, that person is a winner, because every person that is the first one to get to that egg, you like literally hit a button and eliminate all of your possible siblings. You are the winner. You are the one that won that race. So I use that scenario and that level of understanding to explain to this young man that for him to be in front of me with his opinion, passing all this judgment on his father, if his father's legacy or his father's duty in life could have been just to have made it to be a winner, just so he could potentially give birth to Za or him, and him become a winner. So carry that burden with great humility and just know that, to be all knowing is almost to know nothing, because there's so much outside of the realm of what we do understand and know. So after having that conversation and realizing that upon looking over to my right, that the woman was brought to tears, and this conversation had gotten very deep and very intimate, but we had a great outcome from it, and I was honored to be a part in this conversation, and I'm honored to share it with you. And this is not superiority through complexity, but unity through simplicity. Okay, because genius is not about big words and terms and topics that are over people's head. It's about connecting people and engaging them through something they go, oh. It's about those aha moments, and being giving enough to share that and not hold it back, waiting for monetary gain or something, but actually sharing it. Top of the morning, top of the morning. And I appreciate having you in here. Thank you. But I just was sharing a conversation, a true talk of listening to a young man giving his breakdown of his father and his life and how disappointed he was with him and the man he was not, to being able to humble him to a point where he understood that his father was a winner just because he was born, and now he's given birth to you. So and I could just see it absorbing him. And I was just explaining to him that, listen, man, real talk. I'm just talking to you from a perch of 50 to a perch of like 30, and just trying to make sure you understand that your greatness is not going to be defined by his weaknesses. In fact, you might be his greatest strength. So do your part and make this circle complete. And it's not, it's, I don't know, just don't get even. Don't feel like you got to get even. Just be your greatness. So maybe he can realize in retrospect how he could have been better as a father and things, but not because the way you cast it at him with vindication, but because you cast it to him with appreciation and thanks for being who you are. So I just wanted to share that conversation with you guys. This live did go a little longer than my normal Wednesday lives, but I just wanted to share this message and just say peace to the world, peace to everybody. We are in some trying times. Things are crazy out here, and they're going to get crazier, and it's by design. So love on your neighbors, love on the people around you. We are the community. We are this world. And let's use these tools that are at our disposal to make this world a better place. Okay. If you have something to say, speak to your nephews, speak to your nieces, excuse me. Thank you, brother. Speak to your nieces and your nephews, anybody you can inspire with something good you have to give. Don't just sit back and pass judgment, and don't be so knowing that you don't think you got to share, like you're not the reason. There's a reason why you know what you do, why the things that offend you and affect you, and live that truth and be that truth. And with that, I'm out. This is my Wednesday live. This is Nurturing of Our Humanity. Next Wednesday, I'll see you guys. Peace.